You guys you were there from when the probation started, correct?
Yeah. So I came in 90 and
90, yeah.
we were on probation. I think we had, I don't know, 12, 15 scholarships.
Yeah.
Um, it was a rough period for us, you know.
You guys held OU down, man. For real.
We had a
Guys,
lot of talent, man.
a ton
We
of
had a lot.
talent, man.
Yeah, had a lot of talent, and we had the three teams that we always had trouble with: Colorado, Nebraska, and Texas. Right?
Yeah.
We should have beat Nebraska a number of times. We should have beat Texas a number of times. Colorado is just good, brother.
I know, isn't that's
They
wild,
were just
man.
good.
It helps when you
They had
get five downs, you know.
yeah,
Yeah,
true. Yeah. You talking about against the Michigan game?
yeah.
Yeah.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah. But they were good. Buffaloes were good for about
They were
15
good.
years or so, I guess.
They were good at every position: quarterback, running back, tight end, receiver. I was like, these cats
Defense.
are good. Yeah.
Play good defense too.
Yeah.
You were so you got recruited as an defensive lineman,
I got recruited as a defensive lineman,
and then you
and I
converted
and
over.
I and I converted over. I played in high school. I played both offense and defense.
All right.
And the funny thing is, on some of the recruiting trips I took, those schools were telling me up front, "Hey, we want to bring you in as an offensive lineman." I was like, "Yeah, no." So I want to be a defensive lineman, and I get to OU, and here we go,
All
move
right.
from offense to defense, or from defense to offense. So
It's a
yeah,
different beast, huh?
yeah, I'm glad I did it. Um, it's one of those things that I even still think about it today. It's been what, 30 years, right? Almost,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah. And I'll never forget, we had just won the Gator Bowl, and we were on a plane back from Jacksonville to Norman. And Coach Gibbs, he's walking down and he stops and he talks to me for a little bit, and he's like, "Hey, what do you think about playing left tackle?" And I was like, offensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'm a guard, right? Little did I know, hindsight 2020, today left tackle was like the number one position. But we didn't have people telling us that stuff back then.
Right.
And so it was different back then. You had to um you had to learn from experience. Now these kids today, man, everything's at their fingertips. They
Yeah.
know how to prepare.
Yeah.
They know what to do, what they have to do in order to get into college and in the league. So it's they're very fortunate.
Yeah, you them old school dudes, their football IQ is I think it's a lot higher than what, these young kids these days, their football IQ, I think. Just by experience, you said, But
Yeah, because you had to go out there and actually do it.
mhm.
You didn't have the semi-pro, whatever leagues you call them today in high school, where these kids attend all these different
Yeah.
camps and that type of stuff. That
Yeah.
stuff was non-existent. At least to my knowledge, that stuff was non-existent when I was coming out. So you played football, and when football was over, you were in track and field or basketball or you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
just you were busy. So
Yeah, staying busy, man. That's then that kids were a lot well, I guess now they're a lot softer than they were, back in the day anyway. I don't know. Well, I don't know if it's softer. Maybe they've gotten more safety aware.
I would say safety aware. I agree with you on that. There's a lot of rules now in college football that prevents you from having the same type of experience that we had when we were playing. Safety is one of them. I think the hours that you can actually work out and do two-a-days have changed too as well over the past 20, 25 to 30 years. It is interesting. I think it was 2 years ago. This COVID has got my brain messed up.
Right.
2 or 3 years ago, when I went to a practice in Norman, I actually saw the offensive linemen practice. They were practicing, and they had their helmets on, but they also had another pad on top of their helmets. And I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
what? Yeah, I was like, what's man, if you can go back to the days, and Russ can attest to this when he comes on, if you can go back to the days where we were doing the 3-on-2 and the 3-on-5, it was
I bet.
just hard nosed, and it was smacking each other. And
Yeah.
I'm not lying either, Robert. I mean, there were multiple times after practice, man, you go back with a headache, like an excruciating headache and that type of stuff. But that's just the way it was. We didn't know anything about concussions or concussion protocols or anything around that. I mean, we got out there in practice, it was full speed.
So did they didn't do any like baseline tests before this season to like for the
I mean, we have
concussion?
physicals, right? So you would go in and do a physical, but it wouldn't they weren't checking for concussions or anything of that nature. No.
Right. Yeah, that's I was listening to Brian Urlacher talk once, and he was talking about how he got a concussion in game, and he knew he did. So before the season start, they do baseline tests to see where you're at when you're totally like all there. And so he said he would do his baseline test like really low every year. So if he did
purpose.
on purpose. So when they did the concussion test on him, that he'd be kind of normal because
that's wild.
Yeah, that's the kind of mindset you got to have, man. Like
yeah.
It's either play or you lose your spot, man.
Yep. Now we'll tell you two things, right? So first thing, I never heard of concussion before until Kel got his concussion.
Oh, okay.
And they had to fly him out to LA, I believe, when he had it. And so that was the first time I heard. I didn't even know what a concussion was, right?
Yeah.
So, and then the second thing, I was fortunate enough to sign with the Denver Broncos, even though I was only there for I was only on the team for 6 to 8 weeks. But the reason I'm telling you this, the first day when you go in there and they put you through that physical, they go through everything. Nice. I mean, the eyes, everything. And so the difference between college and pro at that time was like night and day. So
yeah, that's and I think it kind of sucks, but I think the line between the amateurism and professional is that's going to be over with the name, image, and likeness. Like
it is.
It sucks, but I mean, you can see the passion already getting sucked out of the game.
It's a completely different game. I completely agree with you. I understand, it works both ways, right? So when Russell and I were playing, if you got a scholarship, a full scholarship, you got a full scholarship, right? 4 to 5 years, whether you redshirted or not, or if you had some type of medical redshirt. I think the way it is today, these players have to earn their scholarship every season.
Yeah,
right.
I think it's every semester or something even.
Yeah, and so that makes a big difference. Now, with that being said, if the school has that ability to make a change with a player on scholarship, then I think the player should have that ability as well, right?
Oh yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm a big fan of the transfer portal, because I'm still trying to get used to this, and it puts coaches in a hard spot, I think, because you already have to deal with the new talent pool coming in, which has multiple personalities, right? No one person is the same. They come from different parts of the country, from different parts of the city and the state that they live in. They were probably raised different. And so you have to deal with all that up front. And then on top of that, now you have to find a balance on how you discipline an individual for fear of them transferring out somewhere else, just because they may have a problem with how you're disciplining the team. So it's
like that's like Jason Belcher. I talked to him.
Jason.
Man, that dude used to lay some dudes out. Now
he did.
Boy. I feel sorry.
Jason was not only a great player. Jason's a great guy, man. He
was really cool.
He lit up the locker room, and he really good guy. And I haven't actually seen that video yet. I'm gonna have to go watch it.
Oh yeah, you
this.
should,
So,
man. It
yeah,
was really good, man. But he told me like he stayed at OU because he like made a commitment to OU and very
absolutely.
very switcher, and that goes to show like how powerful OU is just as a university and
It
program.
is. Yeah, I mean, it's Oklahoma, man. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't happy 100% of the time I was there, and I had thought about leaving, but I was like, man, all of my friends are here, right? All of my teammates are here. It's Oklahoma football. It's when I was looking at Clemson, I was looking at Arkansas, I was looking at Texas Tech. When I
Arkansas had a
came out,
nice squad back then.
yeah, they did. And Fayetteville's a nice town and everything, but it wasn't until I got to Norman and Oklahoma was my last visit, and it wasn't until I got to Norman I was like, oh yeah,
Nice.
this is it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, you're like the third guy I've talked to that said OU was their last visit, and that's all it took. Like,
That's all it took.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool, man.
Well, the crazy thing is, I came in right after, Switzer had left, but it was right after everything that was happening, right?
Right.
Everything that was going on in the bud, the shooting,
Yeah.
the rape, the cocaine sale to the FBI agent. And so after I took my visit to Oklahoma, I came back to Tomball, and I told my parents, hey, I think I'm gonna go to Oklahoma. My mother was like, I'm just not feeling Oklahoma right now. There's a lot of stuff in the news about Oklahoma, and she was dead serious too.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Coach Gibbs and Johnny Barr, came to the house and talked to my parents, and they felt comfortable, with Gibbs and Barr, and next thing you know, landed in Norman.
So, do you think Gibbs was like? I know he was a great defensive mind. Did he not just have like the fire, or because like you said, the talent, so much talent on that roster, man.
Gibbs is a former player, so he definitely had the passion to win. That's for sure. I'll tell you that. It's just, they brought him in to clean up the program.
Yeah.
Right. And so he had to balance the way that he coached as well. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the times were hard on him, but man, we had a lot of talent, and I'll be honest with you. I think a year or two more, we would have started seeing the rewards of everything that he put together. So
yeah. I mean, he did good. He did decent. I mean, he had a couple 9-10 win seasons, right?
Yeah. We had some decent seasons, but we always lost. I mean, I think it was my junior year where we started out fantastic. I think we ended up at one point being ranked number 7 in the country. We had beat Texas. We beat the pants off of Texas A&M, and that was a Texas A&M with Sam Adams and Eric England and all of those guys, right? They came into Norman, and we completely spanked them.
Nice.
We ended up beating Texas Tech and beat TCU, and we had swept the Texas school. In fact, I think we had some shirts out there that said Southwest Texas champs at that point, right? So, or Southwest Conference champs. Sorry,
nice.
Southwest Conference champs. But then, man, I don't know what happened. I think that's the year Kale got hurt.
Oh, okay.
And when he got hurt, I think he got hurt in the Colorado game, and we ended up losing to Colorado, and then of course to Nebraska, and I think there's another team that we lost to. It's just. But we had the talent. I think we were putting something good together. It's just, it's Oklahoma, man. There's no patience, and
that's the truth there, man.
Yeah. So you take a look at Coach Blake, right?
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of people don't realize is that that 2000 team that won the national championship, those were all Blake's players.
They were,
They really were. Yeah. So it's. you know, who knows? I'm not saying that he would have won the national championship.
Right.
Of course, Coach Stoops came in and won the national championship. Coach Stoops is Coach Stoops. He's a fantastic coach. So
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know, schools like Oklahoma, the Alabamas, they'll give you a few years, but they're not going to accept a mediocre team for long. So
yeah, those 3 years were pretty rough, man.
Are you talking about the Snellenberger years?
The Blake and Snellenberger.
Yeah, they were pretty rough.
Yeah. That 3-8 season was really, really rough, man.
Yeah, but you know what? For me, and I've learned this especially now. So here recently, I would, and this is just me personally, I would prefer to see a team play their lights out and lose than see a team win barely without playing the way they should be playing. And I don't know about you, but we had a lot of games last year where it's like, dude, we shouldn't even be in this position. Yeah, we won 10 games, but you know what? that was a rough 10 games, man. And so,
really
I would talk. I live here in the Austin area, and so a lot of these guys around here are Longhorn fans. They would, we sit around and talk, and of course they were disappointed in their season. I'm like, well, we might have 10 wins, man, but we look terrible.
Yeah, they didn't feel like 10 wins.
Yeah. And so this is the first time that I'm really excited to go to a spring game since Stoops came on board. And so it's I'm looking forward to it. I think Venables is the right hire. I think he's going to bring that passion in there. I think bringing Smitty in from A&M is spot on. So I'm excited. Yeah, and I'll be at the spring game, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we look. And again, I'm not expecting us to go win a national championship this first year. All I want to do is I want to see guys compete. If they're out there laying it down and we lose, we lose. It's okay. But you know what? They're giving it 100%. Yeah. And I just don't think we did that this past year.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So,
I was telling the Belser and the other guys I've talked to, like you guys helped shape me like as a young man, because I would watch you guys fight, like you said, you would fight, you would take a fight over a win, Yeah. And that's what I seen like never give up. Like every Saturday it was just Joe Bowden, just pants Joe covered in blood with the black spikes on, like like come get some, like it was it was just Joe. It was cool to see that, man. And it brotherhood, man.
It's brotherhood. And we played for Oklahoma, man. And so we're going to come out and do what we need to do. Now, there were some games we lost we shouldn't have lost, right? One of those was an Iowa State game, and I'll never forget that. I was a freshman, actually, because I was still on the defensive side of the ball. And I'll never forget, after the game, Coach Selman, he kicked the door off the hinges in our team room. Yeah. You talking about eyes open.
I bet.
And I can remember it like it was yesterday, and how, he stated he's never lost to Iowa State. And, here I am, a freshman. Now, I went to a pretty good high school in terms of football, where we didn't lose really either. And so coming in my freshman year and having these losses was something that was new to me. So I wasn't happy about that either. But you could see the passion, not only in Gibbs, but in Coach Selman, and these are coaches that have played at OU. So they had a different passion than someone who was brought into OU from a different university. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Did Switzer come around much when you were there? Or?
Yeah, Switzer, he would come to practice. His son Doug played with us, I believe, my sophomore year, junior year. And so he would come to practice. Switzer's a cool cat, man.
Yeah.
I'll never forget my well, let me tell you a story. So growing up, my mother was a teacher. My father worked for UPS and later FedEx. So because my mother was a teacher in the summertime, we would take trips like out to California, uh, Las Vegas, Denver. Well, one year, we were kids too, actually. We took a trip up to Denver, and instead of coming back through New Mexico, we come back through that little small part of Oklahoma. I think it's like 10 minutes or maybe 10 miles. That was our first time in Oklahoma. So we stopped where the Welcome to Oklahoma sign is. And my parents say, hey, get out so we can take a picture of my brother and I in front of the sign. And we get out, no shoes on. It's hot. I mean, it's hot. And there's nothing around. It's just a sign. And so we go over to take a picture, and there's all these little gnats and everything flying in our nose and everything. And so my mother takes a picture. We get back in the car, and I tell her, I said, I'm never coming back to Oklahoma, ever. I'm never, ever coming back to Oklahoma. And I told her that. And, you know, here 10 years later, I'm landing in Norman. Right. So, yeah.
I got to meet Switzer at the OU Nebraska game last year, the 50th anniversary. And so I like talked to him for a few seconds, and he's like, thanks. And he said, Robert. He called me by my first name. And I look at my mom, and I'm like, what? How does he know my name? He doesn't know who I am. And she's like, points to my shirt, and I had my name tag on my shirt that day. I was like,
that's funny.
Man still got it, man.
He's got it, man. He's personable. My dad and I would watch Oklahoma every Saturday that they were showing in the Houston area. And so, you know, he was aware of Switzer. He was aware of, Jamel and Boz and all of these guys. And so when my parents we came up for spring after I signed with Oklahoma for the spring break that year, my senior year, we all drove up to Norman so they can see the campus.
Nice.
And so we stopped at the mall to get some stuff before going to the hotel, and Switzer was there signing his book.
Nice.
And so when we walked in, he's like, hey, there's one of my guys right there. And so we went over, and I still have the picture. And, you know, he stayed and talked to my mom and dad. And, you know, that was something they never forgot. It was kind of cool. But Switzer's a very personable guy. He used to come around then. In fact, actually, I think I see him more now than I saw him when we were there.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Really cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to pick that dude's brain for like a half hour or so, man. Just
smart guy.
I bet he's super smart, man.
Yeah, smart guy.
He was he was
a player's coach.
Right.
You know, and it's interesting that we talk about that, because just today I was talking about players coaches, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, Switzer is a player's coach. Spike Dykes from Texas Tech was a player's coach. Jim Wacker from TCU. These are people who were so personable. I mean, they could get you to do whatever they wanted you to do, right? And it was just they were really great to be around. You looked up to them. Any advice that they can provide you, you know, you would welcome. It's just and Switzer's the same way. And Switzer's probably, I'm going to be honest with you, Switzer's probably one, if not number two, on that list.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. He has some pretty crazy offenses, man. Like some of those teams, like Keith Jackson, he revolutionized the tight end position. I truly believe that.
Yeah, but you know what? There's only one Keith Jackson, though, man.
Man, that dude.
I don't care what the books say. Keith had to be every bit of 280. Maybe 290, but he was still fast.
That speed, man.
Yeah, he was fast. And so you don't see a lot of Keith Jacksons, even today, right?
No.
That have the speed that he has, where I think it was the Orange Bowl where he literally walked away from the DBs.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. That's crazy.
That end around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, how are you outrunning the defensive backs? This is nuts. But hey,
And they were waiting for
Keith
him.
was a special. Keith was a special kind, man.
He was.
Yeah.
He was really good with the Eagles. I'm a big Philly fan, so.
Are you?
Yeah. Ever since when I seen Randall Cunningham play quarterback, I was hooked, man.
Well, Randall Cunningham, those are the good old days, man.
Yeah.
You know, and just like college, today with the transfer portal, you know, the NFL and its free agency, it's like there used to be a time where you could follow a team and you followed a team. Now I think people are following players, right? So,
oh yeah, for sure.
And you know, that's cool. You know, times change, got to move on. But it's like, man, I wish we could go back to the old way where, hey, I drafted this guy and I'm going to stick with this guy, and we're either going to win or not with him, right? So,
well, I think it teaches it teaches a kid like about loyalty and commitment and
absolutely,
like discipline and all that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Not just to take the easy way out and stand by your team, your brother, and fight till the end, my man.
Now, with that being said, I'm not going to put all of it on the athlete, right? So
sure.
I think the teams have a responsibility too, to do what they can to develop and make sure that, you know, they try to retain the talent that they have. Or we end up in a situation like we talked about earlier with college, right? So, you know, as long as a team can, you know, pretty much cut you whenever they want to cut you, then maybe you should have the ability to go check out other teams and see what fits you best. So
that's
it's crazy.
Basically what Lincoln Riley did with USC when he went in there and said, I'm cleaning out the roster. Well, you can't clean the roster out. You're like, it's not the NFL. Like,
right.
You're cut. You know, you got to go through the proper channels to dismiss somebody from a team for no reason. You know?
Well, I mean, he could just say he's not going to renew their scholarship, and that's the.
Oh, really? That's up to the coach.
Yeah, so that's the difference between, you know, when I was playing, that was really unheard of, but now, you know, it's like, hey, this year we're not going to renew your scholarship, and it's like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So yeah, that's crazy. That's the way that I understand it is today, and so they have to do it either every semester or every year, and
that is wild.
Yeah.
It's like the transfer portal. I think it's gonna really. I hope it doesn't, but cause a lot less high school athletes to get scholarships, because the school, you know, if there's a 4-star quarterback in the portal that's got 2 years experience, why not swoop him up instead of giving that scholarship to a senior who worked his tail off? But now he's got to go to a smaller school. No, maybe not a Power 5 now.
Right. Not a Power 5 school. Yeah. I mean, I could definitely see that happening. I do think that they're going to tighten this up a little bit. Probably not this year, but next year. I think it's the first year and it's already getting out of control.
Right?
I mean, this year was out of control, man. Not just from an Oklahoma standpoint, just college football in general. And it's like, you know, NCAA, are you going to allow this to happen?
Well, right? It's like that 5-star corner that decommitted from Ohio State to Texas the day after they started the pancake factory or whatever.
Yeah,
you know, it's like it's like you had all this time to sign with Texas, but now you want to go. It's like,
well, I mean, think about it, right? If you're a high school, let's say you're a high school offensive lineman, or you're an offensive lineman coming out. It's your senior in high school. Texas is saying they're going to pay you $50,000 a year.
Sign me up.
As long as you're on the team.
Yeah.
So guess who just rose to my top 3?
Yeah, for real.
Regardless if I wanted to come to Austin or not. I mean, you're paying me $50,000 a year.
Yeah, you can't blame the kid.
Yeah, you can't blame him. No.
There's no blame on the kid whatsoever, because
no.
I mean, especially if you come from like a different background, you know, like a low income or something.
Right.
Give me 50 G's. I'll wear a burnt orange shirt for a while. I mean, it's crazy, man. It's insane. I don't think old Russell Allen's gonna make it, man. But
it might not. It might not. If he does come on while I'm gone and reaches out to you, tell him I said hello.
I will,
Big
man.
Russ is doing well. He's
a big
I
dude,
see him
man.
always exercising. Oh yeah,
He's like
he's a big
6'6",
dude.
huh?
He's 6'6" or 6'7". He's up there.
God dang.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Both he
hey,
and Joey Mickey, he was a tight end for us too. They were
man.
big.
Yeah, see, like Joey Mickey, Ricky Brady,
Ricky, yep.
PJ Mills, Corey Warren, like all them guys. Who's Hall? The Hall.
Albert.
What's Albert Hall? Yeah.
Yep.
They brought in the new like passing attack, with Cal
Yeah.
Gundy. Like they ushered in a whole new era of football, man.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
If it
And
wasn't for them, who knows? We might not see Sam Bradford, Baker. Like,
true. That's
who
a good
knows,
point.
man? Who knows? It could be
Yeah,
like
we
Air
definitely
Force.
moved. We definitely moved more towards a pass offense when I came in. So Corey and Ricky and Kale and I all came in the same year.
Yeah.
Also, Ernest Williams, Ben Cavill.
Ben Cavill. Yeah.
Who else? Corey Warren. Did I say Corey? Corey
Yeah.
Wilson.
Was that when Bowden came
Tim
with you?
Vidito. And I'm sorry?
Was Bowden coming with you guys?
Joe Bowden?
Yeah.
He's like 2 years older than us.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
I like Reggie Barnes too. He was good, man.
Oh, Reggie. Yeah, Reggie. That's my boy.
Yeah. Him. I think it was him. Aubrey Beavers.
Beef was my roommate.
And,
My
I can't remember the
sophomore
other
year.
guys. But it was Reggie Barnes, Aubrey Beavers, and maybe Tyrell Peters. No, it wasn't Tyrell Peters. But they came to my school when I was in elementary and talked to us for a while.
What school did you go to?
I went to Enmore.
And Moore? Okay.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of it, but it was cool. My dad was a big time Sooners fan. Like I remember when I was a kid, he punched the refrigerator and put like a big old dent in it. I was watching OU Texas when I think it was T-Ray or Stanberry that intercepted that ball in the end zone.
Oh yeah,
Against
gotcha.
Texas that year.
Yeah.
And it should have been a pick, but they didn't call it.
They didn't call it.
Yeah. That was good stuff.
Yeah,
man.
Oklahoma, it's man, like the game day, the very first game, we walked out under the stands, and it was just, to see 80,000+ people in crimson and cream screaming stuff was just unreal.
What was
Nuts.
OU Texas like?
OU Texas is funny because we grew up with a lot of those guys, right? So whether we played against them in high school or we played against them in the All-Star game, we knew the majority of the team on Texas. So it was personal. Hey, it was like, hey, I can't let you win this today. And it was awesome, coming out. I'll tell you this. It's funny because people ask me if I go. I don't go to the OU Texas games anymore, and I don't know. My parents, they came to every home game, every OU Texas game, and they flew out for the Syracuse game. They flew out for the bowl game in El Paso and the bowl game in Arizona. But the OU Texas game, from a player standpoint, I think it's awesome. I mean, this is a real fight, right? And not only are you having to deal with the team, you're also having to deal with the fans, right? Half of the fans don't like you. And when you get off that bus and they're talking their noise and cussing at you and all that stuff, it pumps your blood up. I think from a fan standpoint, it's also awesome, right? This is a big party, right? And no matter what your record is going into this game, you don't know how the outcome is going to be. And so it makes it exciting. Now, for me personally, all of the craziness that you have to go through just to get to the stadium, I'd rather watch it with my boys in a living room, to be honest with you.
It's insane down there.
It is, man. It's you have to deal with the traffic. Then you have to park a mile away and walk. It's hot. then you have to stand in line when you get there.
Yeah.
I think now they have a train that drops you off right there.
Oh,
So I
nice.
mean, if you can catch the train in downtown Dallas or wherever in Dallas you catch the train or the light rail, I think it drops you off right there by the stadium. So that makes it better. But I mean, having to deal with that traffic and parking a mile away, and it's just like, man, this is.
Yeah, we played a flag football game last year for this kid who just passed away, Tyson Edwards. We were trying to raise money for his fight against testicular cancer.
And he was a kid with testicular cancer?
Yeah, he was
wow.
He was 20. He got it when he was like 17.
Wow, that's terrible.
And like he fought so hard, man. I've never met an individual with that much fight in him. And like he was only in hospice for 1 day before he passed. Like that just shows his ravage.
Man, that's terrible. I feel that's terrible. Wow.
So we get a group of OU fans and a group of Texas fans, and we play a flag football game. And we were in Dallas, and my wife, she came down a little bit after I did, and she said the traffic was just insane on the highway coming down here.
Man, you really, don't get me wrong, I would love to be there watching the game in person, but you really have to want to go to that game to deal with all that nonsense, to be honest with you. Yeah.
We play that game every year too, man. Maybe you could come down and check it out. It's pretty fun, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Here recently, especially with COVID, I've been watching the game here, but there are years that we head up to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We have some teammates out there that have a OU Texas party, and so we get together and watch the game there and hang out with one another. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, I'll let you know if I'm in town. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You said it's flag football, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
I can handle that.
For sure, man. It's they wanted to play on a 100-yard field, and I'm like, man, I can't do it on 100 yards anymore.
Yeah. His knees aren't the same.
I'm telling you what, man. But I got to get going here. But I like to end on a who, what, and a why.
Okay.
So it's like for the who, is there any like one person like growing up or now or whenever that you just look up to for motivation or inspired you to be the man you are today? Like,
you mean outside of like my family?
Yeah. Or it could be your family or just anybody.
Well, my parents were the biggest supporters of both my brother and I. So I'm very thankful for everything that they've been able to do for us and provide for us and the way that they supported us. My parents my brother played at the University of Houston.
Okay.
So my parents would fly to Norman and come to my game, my 11 o'clock game, and then would fly back to Houston and then drive to the Astrodome to go watch my brother play.
That's dedication.
And so, yeah, it's dedication, and, I don't have kids. My wife and I, we have 2 puppies, but I don't have kids. And I see these parents in the neighborhood, and all year long, their whole weekends are completely filled. And I'm thinking, man, we try to have kids, could have kids, have been great, but man, I don't know if I could fill all my weekends, every single weekend going to these games. I'm not saying I wouldn't, right? It's just that a person that doesn't have any kids is finding it hard to do, right? And so, but my parents did that. So my parents were my inspiration there. My high school coach, phenomenal coach, he was an inspiration there for us as well. He helped shape us. He helped shape who we are as individuals and men. And so, a big shout out there to Coach Lynn Etheridge. And then, if I look at from an athlete standpoint, man, I enjoyed watching a lot of athletes. Especially football when I was growing up. I'll be honest with you, one of my favorite players outside of my Houston team, right? Because I grew up in Houston, so Houston's my team, was John Elway.
Big John, that dude could sling.
Yeah, even before he won the Super Bowls, man, it was like this, this guy can play. He's a phenomenal quarterback.
Fierce, man.
And yeah, and so he was one of the guys that I really, really appreciated watching growing up. And when I went to Denver, he was the very first person I met. So it
Nice,
was
man.
yeah, it was kind of crazy. You know, I've been watching this guy grow up, you know, as a
Yeah.
kid, and you know, I'm not gonna say I idolized him, right? But
Right.
yeah, I followed Elway, and I, you know, and I pulled for him whenever he played anybody other than probably the Houston Oilers. Um, but you know, walking in there and seeing John, and you know, him saying, "Hey, how's it going?" and sitting down and talking, it's like, man, this is unbelievable.
Right.
Just crazy. So, but it was kind of cool.
That old Big John, man, he could be the best athlete, like underrated athlete of all time, man. Like he led the spring league in baseball. He like led every offensive category
Yep.
that spring. It was like, well, if you don't want to trade me, I'm gonna go play some ball then. Like
That, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yep.
he was super good, man.
Yeah.
So for the what is your definition of success?
My definition of success is, I'll go back to what we talked about earlier. Whatever it is that you do, whether it's in the office, on the field, in any particular hobby or art that you may have a passion for, just give it 100%, right? You're not going to always be successful, but you are successful if you gave it your all, right? And if you find yourself down, just pick yourself back up and start all over again. So I think, you know, this is a crazy example, but I just started a YouTube channel.
Nice.
Right. I started a YouTube channel in September. Had no idea what I was doing. Right. And the reason I started it is because whenever I go up to Idaho, all my friends would ask me, "Hey, what are you doing in Idaho?" They always ask me that.
Nice.
And so this last time I was like, you know what? Let me buy a drone camera. And I'm going to show you. Right.
Nice.
And so I made my first video, which when I made it, I thought, oh, that was cool. But it wasn't until I made my second video, I was like, man, I could improve 100 times from that first video. And then after the second video, same thing, I can improve and improve. So just keep him, you know, sticking with what you want to do. I think in this time, especially with COVID, you're starting to see a lot of people say, hey, you know what? This is not what I want to do with my life, right? And you talk about the people who quit their jobs, right? They're like, hey, you live once, go do something that you enjoy, right? Yeah. And be the best at it. So
there's countless people that like go and put in the grave, like when they die. Like there's so many graves with untapped potential in them.
Absolutely.
Like, so many people die and we don't even know what their gifts were.
Well, you know, it's I think with social media and the technology that we have today, the kids growing up have an opportunity that a lot of people didn't. To your point, those people that you're talking about probably got a factory job or a job with a company and spent 30 years there before they retired. That's what they knew. It's not necessarily what they wanted to do, but that's what they knew, and it paid the bills and it provided for their family, right? And I think what you're seeing now in this generation, they're like, hey, I can sit at home on my computer and make a living, right? And be happy doing it, right? Or I can make this and sell it online and be happy doing it and make a living. So I think the opportunities are better now, and hopefully, you know, I always tell people, and do what you want to do. Right. I work at Dell. I love working at Dell. If I didn't, I wouldn't be there for 23 years. Right. Man. And so it's do something that makes you happy. And if you're happy about it, then it's success. Success doesn't necessarily correlate to money.
Right.
It correlates to your happiness. So that's the way that I see it.
So for why do you suppose that everybody hates OU? Why does everybody hate OU?
So my personal opinion on that is you look at the success, you look at the the history of OU, and that's where people, whether they're envy or whether they're uh, I don't. What's the proper word? What's the proper word for this? I think a lot of it has to do with the success that we've had, right? And I'll tell you this because let me tell you something, Robert. So it's like, for me, it's like Alabama, right? When I look at Alabama and I look at Coach
Saban.
Thank you, Nick Saban.
Yeah.
I have no problem with them.
Right.
What I do have a problem with are their fans.
Oh, geez.
And the reason I do is because no matter what happens, anytime an Alabama team gets beat, there's always an excuse.
Yeah.
When we beat them in the Sugar Bowl, I was at that game. I can never forget. When we beat them in the Sugar Bowl, all I heard was that, well, this wasn't a national championship, so they weren't up for it. I'm like, and so I've never heard our fans, and I'm not saying that we don't, but I've never heard our fans react in such a way. If we lost, we lost.
Yeah.
Right. And we're mad about it, and we probably shouldn't have lost, but we're not going to give an excuse that, well, we didn't have all of our members on the team, and I've never heard that. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I've never heard that. But I think people are envious of the success that Oklahoma has had. And, and we do it without parading ourselves in front of the TV. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and I think that's probably one of the reasons that they hate OU. I mean, take a look at, you can see it happen in softball.
Oh yeah.
Look at our softball team.
No love.
It's only a matter of time before, people start hating on our softball team because they're good. Yeah, I mean, they're good. So, yeah.
Well, and a lot of them other fan bases, they're not educated on the game of football and the history of football. Like Oklahoma, from the time from like 90 to 98, and actually from like 95 to like 98 is really the only rough patch they've had.
Yeah. Yeah.
3 years out of 120.
Now,
the other schools,
it could be that they don't understand because they haven't experienced the success that we've had. Right. You know what I mean?
I do.
So you have your schools like Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Miami back in the day.
Yeah.
Penn State,
Texas, even
Texas, Nebraska. These schools have a successful track record.
Right.
They might not be successful right now at this moment, but if you look at the history, they have a successful track record. And so the fan base from those schools understand what's being asked of the coach and the players on the field, right? They have a certain expectation. And then, like I said earlier, I think you really can't, and this is not, I'm not down in the school.
Oh yeah, for sure.
At all, but you really can't compare like, let's say a Texas Tech to Oklahoma in terms of football. Right. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
Texas Tech had great years. They've had great players, but you really don't have that history that Oklahoma has had.
There's no consistency for sure there. Like
a
couple sporadic good years, like with Crabtree and.
Yep.
Man, how good was that, man? That guy was amazing.
Phenomenal.
Michael Crabtree.
Yeah,
God
phenomenal.
Dang,
yeah.
Fun to watch, man. So, well, I guess I'm going to go, man. But I like to.
Robert, it's been a pleasure, brother.
It has. It has been a pleasure. I like to get a Boomer Sooner on our
Boomer
way
Sooner,
out.
baby.
Oh,
Nice. Can you guys see that?
Oh, yeah. That's good form right there, bud.
Boomer Sooner straight from Austin, Texas.
That's right, baby. All right. We'll see you later, man.
All right. Take care, brother.
All right. Thank you.
I'll let you later. Thank you.